Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Mafia Means Family podcast. I am Mafia Mom.
And I am Mini Mafia. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more extremely fire content.
Right, so starting out this week, we were unable, unfortunately, to do a show last week. I did mention our first live show of the year 2 weeks ago that our schedules were a little busy, so I apologize that we weren't able to do anything last week. However, Mafia Sports Report still put out a ton of really great content, so always check in regularly for that. Before we get into anything having to do with the last two games that have been played or the upcoming game for the Bills, which is what we all want to talk about, I just want to touch on something real quick. So I despise Miami fans. I despise the Miami franchise. However, what happened to Tua was tragic. And I don't care what player they are for what team they play for. Never, ever, ever want to see that happen. So I just hope and thoughts and prayers go out to Tua and his family. I hope he makes a speedy recovery. And then I hope he does whatever is best for his future, because we all love watching this entertaining game of football, but at the end of the day, these are still human beings. He has kids. He has a wife. He has a life to live beyond football, and football should not take that away from him. So whatever he decides to do, I just hope he does what's best for him in the end for his health. Is there anything you wanted to add to that about Tua?
No, just hope he makes a fast recovery. Hope there isn't any permanent damage done, and just hope he does what's best for him and for his life.
Okay, so we'll move past that now, that more somber type of news, and let's get into the fun stuff, because our Buffalo Bills are 2-0 and have started the beginning of the season like they're a shot out of a cannon, essentially, winning two very, very different ways in two different games, which was exciting to see. Offense does not appear to have taken a step back like everybody talked all offseason how they were going to. I think a lot of narratives are getting proved wrong, and I think they play better as the underdogs. Reviewing our week one predictions, we did not have a great week. Our scores were not close. Our hot takes were not close. Overall, just was not a good week of predictions.
Yeah.
However, I do want to give credit to Bills fan California, Bills fan CA. I'm assuming, again, it's California. You'll have to let us know in the comments if you see this. But that person completely and totally called it that the Arizona game would be close, and even called the way it would be close. They would kind of more be back and forth, and then the Bills would win it in the end. So congrats to you. Great call there. Let's move on to more fun and exciting news than us being very, very, very wrong. Miami. So what'd you think of the Miami game?
I thought it was a very offensive performance all around, especially James Cook with his 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
James Cook went off for sure.
Definitely. And I overall think that the offense and the defense clicked, especially with the 4 turnovers.
3 turnovers. Then there was a couple turnovers on down, but there were 3 forced turnovers.
Well, there was 3 picks and 1 fumble, right?
No, there was no fumble.
Okay. Well, with 3 turnovers, I overall think the entire team worked as it should have been.
I agree. I think it was a team win. Josh, unlike usual, did not do much against Miami. Congratulations to James Cook for being AFC Player of the Week. We'll get into him a little bit more later. However, it was really good to see this mesh of offensive or defensive players be able to step up, because I, for one, was concerned. I have not been the biggest supporter of Cam Lewis or Jamarcus Ingram since they've been on the Bills. I think they have really hurt us at times when they've been forced to play due to injury. The idea of them starting against the Miami track team was not a fun thought to me. And they stepped up, man.
They did.
They both played really, really well. Cam Lewis played great in Arizona. Jamarcus Ingram made a play at the end of Arizona game, which I think still could have been pass interference. I think we got a little lucky, but didn't matter. It wasn't called. Bills have been on the bad end of enough of those calls. However, moving on to the players of the game from this week, I'll let you go first, because I think yours is going to kind of encompass what I was just saying. So go ahead. Who are your players of the game from Miami?
My players of the game were, first off, the DBs. The DBs played absolutely amazing. There were no actual, deep passes.
Nope.
There were no passes more than 20 yards through the air.
That might be true. There might have been one, but
There weren't many.
no.
Also, we had 3 turnovers, like I just said, on the defensive side. 3 turnovers, decent amount of pressure throughout the game. And
Yeah.
On the defensive side, I think the DBs played the best.
They had a really, really great game. I'm not sure I would agree that they played the best, but they did have a really great game. You wanted to give some credit to a specific DB, right?
Ingram. He had 1 pick 6 and 1 pick.
Yeah.
Considering he's made the team every year, but he really hasn't gotten on the field at all. He really stepped up.
He had a great game. Yeah. I don't know if I told you this story, but I heard a funny story from Ed Oliver in the locker room after the game. So this is a credit to Bill's Mafia and how we travel and how we support our team. But Ed Oliver was in on the pressure on Tua on that pick 6 where he, Tua's falling to the ground. He's getting pressure in his face as he releases the ball, which is what created the pick 6 and all that, blah, blah, blah. So Ed Oliver was one of the guys who was getting the pressure on him. And as he's falling to the ground, he felt Tua release the ball and all that. And he hears the crowd start to erupt. And he's like, oh, man. He's picturing in his head 10 giving the deuces signs to the Bills safety. Just Tyreek Hill burning down the field. And understandably why you would think that. Tyreek Hill, for the record, was held to 3 catches for 24 yards. Pitiful. But anyway, it wasn't until he kind of rolled over and looked up and realized, oh my God, that's us. We're scoring, not them. And then that's what made him realize how many Bills fans were there, because the crowd was so loud when the pick 6 happened that he thought it was the home crowd, and it wasn't. It was our crowd. So that was kind of a cool story. My defensive players of the game is also a position group, and it's going to be the D line. Von Miller is Von Miller again, man. And all those people chirping for the last 2 years about how it's such a horrible contract for Brandon Beane, da-da-da-da. Yeah. I don't hear you now, because Von Miller has been playing phenomenal. He had his quickest get off of the line of scrimmage since 2021, way before the injury, while he was back playing at a top level. So Von Miller just killing it on the field. And even when he's not getting to the quarterback for sack after sack after sack, which he did, I think he got 2 in that game, he's still applying pressure. He is making running backs bounce the ball back inside. He's pushing quarterbacks off their spot. He is doing what we needed Von Miller to do. And Greg Rousseau on the other side has grown exponentially since the first year Von played with us for those first 8 games or whatever, and he looks amazing. So I think the D-line was the best position group in that game, personally. What about your offensive player of the game? I think this is kind of an easy one. But
this is probably the most predictable player of the game.
Yep.
For probably definitely this game.
Yep.
James Cook is mine. James Cook, definitely. He had 3 touchdowns, and he had 2 rushing, 1 receiving. The rushing ties from last year.
Yeah. So James Cook had 2 rushing touchdowns, and both his rookie year in 2022 as well as in the 2023 season, he only had 2 rushing touchdowns the entire season. So good for him. I will also say that I was really impressed with James Cook. The runs were different runs, the 2 that he scored on. So one was a breakaway one, which, again, I love Poyer, but I did say that I was not as worried about losing Poyer because his mind has not caught up with the limitations of his body and older age, and he takes bad angles. And it's exactly what he did on the Cook run and exactly why Cook was able to break that run. The first one, though, was inside the 2-yard line, and we don't normally hand the ball to James Cook there. And I'm glad that he scored, because maybe that's a few less times that Josh has to take a massive hit or have 300-pound guys falling on top of him. So good for him, and we haven't even seen Ray Davis get involved in that short game inside the 5. So I agree with you. I think James Cook absolutely deserves a ton of credit. I'm hoping it's not a one-off, kind of like the Dallas one last year felt. It felt like we moved away from that afterwards. I'm fine with game plan specific stuff, but I don't want us to forget that James Cook is really turning into a big weapon, and I want us to continue to try to use him. My offensive players that I want to give credit to for the Miami game, another position group. My theme for players of the game was the trenches, because I thought the O-line played unbelievable. Not only did they open up running lanes for James Cook, how much was his yards per carry in that game?
It was
7.1.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. I mean, he only carried the ball 10 times, but he had over 70 yards. If you can get 7 yards a pop on the run game, your quarterback can take the day off. That's crazy. Mitch Trubisky could do that. No offense to Mitch Trubisky. Just we saw how he played in Pittsburgh. But the O-line, they gave up 0 sacks. They opened up massive holes for James Cook. They didn't even give up a pressure on Allen all night. And that speaks to Mitch Morris leaving, who we're going to be playing this week, as well as the slight movements and the slight changes that have been done on the O-line, feels like it's working out, and it feels like those guys are syncing together very well. Spencer Brown just got a contract extension, and I think he's proving that he was worth it to keep as the right tackle. I know he's had his problems, but he's been playing well as of late, so it was really good to see. So anything else you want to add about the Miami game?
No, just overall, both sides of the ball clicked, and I'm really glad that we came out with the win, especially because they're tied with our number one rival.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, we're their biggest rival. I'm not sure Buffalo really like. We want to beat them every time, but like it's been such like we own them so bad of recent years. So like it feels hard to like be worried about a Miami game the way you would like a Chiefs game.
Not worried, just like wanting to absolutely leave them on the sand to get obliterated.
That's fair. That's fair. And I will say, and again, horrible thing with Tua's injury. Never want to see that. But that game was not decided because of Tua's injury. I honestly think that it could have been worse had Tua stayed in, because I think the Bills in the entire second half took their foot off the gas. But when Tua went down, they were just trying to run out the clock. And they seemed to – Skylar Thompson wasn't taking the kind of chances Tua was, which put the ball in danger less. So I don't want to hear anybody in 3 weeks excusing that, oh, well, the Bills beat the Dolphins in Miami, but it only happened because Tua got – no, that's BS. Tua threw 3 picks in that game. All the Miami fans complaining and whining that the first 2 weren't on him. The first one was behind him, but it is a catchable ball. Fine. The second one, unless Chosen has a ladder in his back pocket that we're not aware of, that he's going to climb up to 12 feet tall, or if he's supposed to, instead of going to the open area, run through the defender to get to his area for a pass, I think Chosen read the play the right way, and I think Tua screwed up. The third one was just 100% on Tua. I don't think anybody can excuse that one. Okay, let's move past the Miami games, okay? So we're going to move on to your favorite segment. What is it? Too tired here. What's going on?
Kind of. Fact or flag?
Fact or flag. How do we play fact or flag, Mini Mafia?
So fact or flag is it's like a little trivia game.
So what's going to happen?
Asks me an NFL question.
I make a statement about the game. Yep.
Yes, a statement about the game, and then I will take this yellow flag here. I will wave it if I think it is false, and I will say fact if I think it is true. And anybody that watches this later on, you can also play along. Just if you cheat, just try not to.
All right. Here we go. You don't want to be a cheat treat, right?
Definitely not a cheat.
All right. So if you're going to play along, actually guess before we give the answer. If not, you could feel really smart, but know that you didn't play the game right away. So I don't know. All right. Here we go. So number 1 for fact or flag. So knock on wood, before everybody freaks out, Josh Allen has not thrown an interception in 2 games. I know. I'm going to say it again because I know after last year and the way the media talks about him, he throws 1 every 15 minutes. So Josh Allen has 0 interceptions in 2 games. Okay. I do not think it's a coincidence that those 2 games happened as soon as Gabe Davis left, but we won't get into that now. However, if Gabe Davis scores in this weekend, for the record, I'm just going to say this. I'm going to be pissed. If Gabe Davis, like if he gets targeted like 6 times and has like 100 yards and no drops and scores 2 touchdowns on us, I'm going to be pissed. Do not let Gabe Davis score, please. He probably drove me crazy more than any other player on the team over the last 4 years. Anyway, sorry, moving on. This was the first time in Allen's professional NFL career where he had back-to-back games without an interception. Fact or flag? Flag. You were pretty certain on that.
Yeah, I remember a couple years ago he had a 4-game streak without a pick.
Very good. That may be. I know there were 2 other streaks in his career, which isn't a lot for 7 years, but 2 other streaks in his career where he did not have a pick for at least 2 games in a row. Congratulations.
He had 1 streak for 4 and 1 streak for 6.
I don't know if that's true, but
he had this really long time period where he just didn't throw a pick, and then he threw like 3 picks in 1 game.
Maybe, yeah. I didn't record the details. I looked them up, but I didn't record the details, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But congratulations, you got the first one right. All right. Ready? Here we go.
Coming back because last episode was not good.
It was not good. All right, right. What did you go? 1-3 last week, or 1-2 last week, or did you
Nah.
go 0-3?
I went 0-3.
All right, here we go. Didn't you listen to somebody in the chat on the one?
Yeah,
so
I went
1 and 2. All right.
Bills fan CA I listened to, and
Got it right.
thank
All right. Okay, so Jags are 0-2 right now, coming off of back-to-back losses. Even more if you go back to last season, but we're not doing that. Coming off of back-to-back losses in Trevor Lawrence's career, he has not looked good coming off of back-to-back losses. He has 11 TDs and 14 interceptions in the third game after back-to-back losses. What do you think? Fact or flag?
When?
Over his career, over his NFL career, he's been in the league 3 years. When he's playing in that third game after the last 2 games have been a loss, in those third games, he has 11 TDs and 14 interceptions. So he presses a little. That's what I'm saying. What do you think? Fact or flag?
This is his third year in the league, correct?
Yes, this is his third year in the league.
Last 2 years, first year he was a rookie, as everyone knows. Rookies tend to force stuff a lot.
Yep.
Second year, he's still coming off from being a rookie, so I think he did make some mistakes. So I'm going to say that's a fact.
You said fact. You're 100% right. That is a fact. Something I thought about using in fact or flag. Good job, by the way. So the Jags in Trevor Lawrence's career twice have started out a loss where they've gotten 2 back-to-back losses. 3 times, I'm sorry. Once they won that third game. The other 2 times, it extended to at least 5 losses in a row. So they are not a team who has historically, with Trevor Lawrence, been like, we're ending this losing streak now. They struggle. They continue to struggle. When it starts going downhill, it goes downhill for them.
Unlike the 20-year losing streak for the Bills with the playoffs.
Well,
Tyrod Taylor broke that. And
yes, but that went on for a long time.
I know, but he knew he was going to break it.
Okay. All right.
He was determined to break it.
Okay. All right. So just interestingly enough, it seems like when things go bad for the Jags and Trevor Lawrence, they kind of seem to snowball and they have a hard time getting it back on track. They're a very streaky team. When they're playing good, they're winning. When they're playing bad, they're losing. So we'll see what happens. It is very, very difficult for a good team to go 0-3 to start the season. And there are a lot of teams at risk of this. Baltimore is one of them, the Bengals, the Jags. I know there's other ones, but it's not a place where anybody thought they would be preseason. So it's interesting to see. Okay. Last one. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. In the last 10 years, there have been 5 matchups between the Jags and Bills. One was in London. That was last season. Now that I'm thinking about it, there may have actually been a second one in London, and I apologize if I got that wrong. But out of the other 4 matchups, so excluding last season's matchup because it was on a neutral field, the home team has won every game, every matchup.
Wow.
So 4 matchups, excluding last year, the home team in the last 10 years.
I knew when the Jags were at home a couple years ago, they won just field goals.
6-9.
Horrible NFL game.
There's another Bills podcast that jokes that they are still waiting for the Bills to come back and win that game because it still just does not register that we could have been that bad offensively in a game. But go ahead.
So
home team wins every time.
They won that one. We won the season before that. Like the game before that, we won it. I think that then we'd be at home.
Well, it doesn't necessarily go back and forth like that. Like we played the Chiefs the last 4 years in their house, 3 years, something like that. But I'm not trying to push you in one direction or another. I'm just saying don't think it goes back and forth every week.
I do think we won in Jacksonville once, though.
So you think that's a flag?
I think that's a flag.
Well, sir, you're 2-1 for today. So that one is true. The matchups that we had in 2017, between 2015 and now, the home team has won every one. Again, there may have been a second London game in there. I think there was in 2017, and I apologize for missing that. But the home team, the team who was listed as the home team, won every one except for last year's, which was in London in a neutral field and doesn't really count as a home game. So, all right, that is Factor Flag for the day. So, PJ is now 3-3 on Factor Flag.
Let's go.
3-3. All right. Hopefully, anybody watching, you got all those answers correct. All right. We're going to move on to the upcoming game versus the Jags. Let's start with who do you believe the players to watch are in this game? You want to start with offense or defense?
I want you to start.
You want me to start offense or defense?
Okay.
Okay, well, we're going to start with offense. This is somebody who I did not necessarily – I was hoping there would be chemistry early. And from the way that there's been talk in interviews, they're definitely still building that chemistry. But in back-to-back weeks, I watched Josh Allen show a lot of faith and trust in this person by throwing up a 50-50 ball for him both weeks.
Can I guess?
Arizona – yep, in a minute. In Arizona, they made the catch. In Miami, they didn't, but they didn't let it get picked off. And that's your job there as the receiver. You know it's a receiver. If that ball comes up to you, if you can't catch it, nobody else catches it. And as long as you do that, the quarterback's going to keep throwing to you, especially a guy like Josh. What do you think it is?
Saying Shakir.
Nope. Keon Coleman. So I think this game is going to be a big game for Keon Coleman. I think that he got those jitters out from game one. He's back in front of his home crowd playing on Monday night. I think, look, anybody who grew up playing football, you dreamed about playing on Monday Night Football. This is where this kid is now. And I think he is going to have a massive game. I think he is going to catch probably at least two 50-50 balls. And I'll get into the other predictions for him in a little bit. Who's your offensive player to watch?
My offensive player to watch is Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid. All right. They tried to get him going early in Miami. They gave him a couple little bubble screens and tried to work him in early. But what do you see from him this week?
I'm saying at least one touchdown.
Okay.
And over 70 yards.
Over 70 yards. All right, that would be a big day for him.
Over 70 yards, at least one touchdown. And let's say 5 receptions.
Okay. That's those are it's a decent yards per catch too. Maybe he breaks one big one. Okay. I could see it. I think one of the things that makes this Bills offense so dangerous is you never know who's going to be the guy that week. So even though I'm predicting Coleman and you're predicting Kincaid, if you told me that Coleman and Kincaid didn't touch the ball and Josh still threw for 300 yards, I'd be like, all right, Shakir must have had a day. Curtis Samuel must have had a day. MVS must have had a day. Dawson Knox, whatever. There's so many weapons. And even though none of them are like wide receiver one, that dominant premier wide receiver, it doesn't matter because our quarterback, who is not overrated, is so talented that he can elevate all those guys around him just like he did with Diggs. Because if you go back, you find me any analyst, any expert, anybody with any credibility who called Diggs a top 5 or even top 10 wide receiver before the trade to Buffalo. You can't find it because it didn't exist. Nobody saw it. He wasn't even the top choice on his own team. Adam Thielen was. He wasn't who he was until he came here. And Diggs is a tremendously talented wide receiver. However, he did not make Josh Allen. Josh Allen and him elevated each other. I think Allen did more for Diggs' career than Diggs did for Allen's. And if he continues to only have 30, 35 yards receiving a game in Houston, wait for that temper tantrum on the sideline because it already happened in preseason and it's not going to take long if he doesn't get the ball. That's it. Okay, sorry about that little tangent there on Diggs. I know how much you like Diggs, and I like Diggs too. I just think anybody who puts their own personal stats above what's best for the team is a selfish player, and I don't want that guy in my locker room.
Also, as soon as I got my Diggs jersey, he went away the next season.
Yeah, that stinks.
So I didn't get to wear it at all. It sucks.
All right, so let's moving on to the defensive players to watch. You want me to go first on this one too?
Yes.
Okay. So I am somebody who was forced into action last week. A lot of guys were. But surprisingly forced into action. When Bernard went down, I was worried. I'm not going to lie to you. Teron Johnson was already out. Matt Milano already out. Already a little weak on the back end. And now, bam, our signal caller, our quarterback on defense, the center of our defense, the heart, gone, out. And he did not look like he was going to return. And now we find out he's going to miss at least 4 weeks. Who comes in? Mr. Balin Spector, who I will always and forever associate with Kyle Brandt. Because Kyle Brandt, I believe, made his – at the draft, he's the one who announced his selection was Kyle Brandt. But anyway, Balin Spector did not do bad. There was one play where he kind of got a little mixed up. It was on the touchdown. He was in the wrong spot. There were a couple plays where probably could have made a better play or he was in the wrong hole or whatever. Overall, it didn't matter. That game was blown out pretty early. But I think Balin Spector is a good linebacker. I think he has the potential of being a great linebacker. I think he's in a tough spot playing with Dorian Williams, who's also very, very young. But I expect Balin Spector to have a big game. I think he's going to have a week to prepare, a week with the green dot on the back of his helmet. I think he's going to get a lot of reps in that position, and I think he's going to come out against the Jags, whose offense has been struggling, and I think that he is going to prove that he deserves to be a third round draft pick, and that he deserves to wear that green dot on his helmet and he can handle the load. So Balin Spector is my defender to watch. Who's your defender to watch?
Mine is Vaughn.
Can never go wrong with Vaughn, right?
Never. Like, he's always going to be Vaughn. Like, well, not always, but, like, he just got back to being Vaughn, and I know he's hungry for more. He's hungry to get in that backfield and disrupt this offense.
I could see him feasting. I could.
I know we already have a hot take, but I'm going to do a mini hot take.
Okay, we haven't done our hot take yet, so.
I'm going to say he's going to have over 2 sacks.
All right. I love it. I love it. Trevor Lawrence is he's not mobile, but he's not like a quarterback who's really going to get out on the edge and hurt you. And who is a quarterback's best friend when they're under pressure? Who's their best friend?
The out of bounds line?
No. There is a pass catcher on the team that is their best friend when they're under pressure. Nope.
The slot receivers?
No. The tight end.
Yeah,
he's a big body. He has a big catch radius, and he's generally running shorter patterns. So he's on a lot of the hot routes and things like that. He can normally out physical whoever's covering him to at least pick up a couple yards, a couple positive yards. Evan Ingram is not playing in this game. He's hurt. Again, Jacksonville's offense has already been struggling. I think they put up 17 and 18 points. And when they slide hard. So I expect Trevor Lawrence to either try to force the ball a little too much or be holding it for a little too long. If he chooses option number 2, that's where I think Von Miller could really have an impact on this game. So I think it's a good call. All right. Anything else you want to add about players to watch for this week?
No.
Okay. So let's move on to our Josh Allen stat line.
First.
Me first again? Okay. I think we're kind of starting to see that in Joe Brady's offense, Josh Allen is not going to be throwing for 400 yards very often. So when he's asked to, he's going to make some, oh my God, did you just see that plays? But it's not going to be the Josh Allen show every week. Other guys are going to make plays, whether that's yards after catch, running the ball, whatever. I'm going to drop my prediction of Josh's yards down a little bit from where I have been the last few weeks. I think he's going to throw for about 250. However, I do see him getting a total of 3 total touchdowns. And again, and this is key because the touchdowns are great, but we want to make sure this number doesn't get out of control. I think he has 0 interceptions again. Now, maybe he has a fumble. Maybe. I think he has 0 interceptions again. And again, I'm going to knock on wood because I hate to jinx anything. But previous years, even when Allen played amazing and didn't have any interceptions, there would be at least one throw a game where you wanted to, what are you doing, Allen? What are you looking at? At least one. Now, a lot of times it didn't get picked off. I challenge you to go and find me a throw from the last 2 games that makes you want to go because the ball was in danger. I didn't see it. If it happened, I missed it. And I've watched the games a couple times. I didn't see it. So he is taking care of the ball on a level that he hasn't been even in past years when he's put up maybe bigger numbers or more impressive numbers. So I think 250 yards passing, 3 total TDs. Again, total TDs, 0 interceptions. What's yours?
I'm going to say, honestly, the passing yards are just a little higher than yours, 264.
Okay.
I'm going to say 0 interceptions.
Okay, I like it.
3 touchdowns.
Wow, I like it.
1 rushing touchdown.
So 4 total. All right.
And then I'm also going to say 50 rushing yards.
That's a lot of rushing yards. That'd be a lot of total yards. We all know Josh is capable of it, so it's not like I think it couldn't happen. I'm interested to see.
I think Josh Hines Allen is going to get in the backfield a couple times.
Okay.
So he's got to take off really quick because he doesn't have time to throw.
I understand where you're coming from. He's a phenomenal pass rusher, and it was pretty clear from last week, which I lost a same game parlay on the Miami game because I was missing Josh Allen like 34 yards rushing. I thought it's Miami. He'll run for 34 yards before the end of the first quarter. I think the injury was bothering him a little bit, and I think he was trying to be very, very cautious with taking any hits. It also wasn't necessary, but it's possible that the last 10 days have really helped that. And I know he's still on the injury report, but he's been a full participant. You have to put him on the injury report, even if they just, get an ice wrap afterwards or whatever. You have to put him on the injury report. So we'll see if, we'll see which Josh we get. Either way, I trust him to run the offense however he needs to win the game. So I think we're in good shape. All right. So we've done players to watch. We've done Josh Allen's stat line. Hot takes for the week. You want to go first? You want to go second?
Second.
Okay. This is a repeat. So week one, my hot take was that either DeMar Hamlin or Keon Coleman, somebody new was going to get a big splash play, whether that was an interception or a touchdown. Now, I was wrong on Hamlin and Coleman. However, Cam Lewis did get an interception, which was a big deal. This week, I'm narrowing that down a little bit. The offensive guy that I said was my player to watch was Keon Coleman. I think he scores his first NFL touchdown this week in front of the home crowd, and I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be either a back of the end zone fade where we haven't seen Josh throw a lot of those balls because we haven't had that kind of wide receiver, or I think it's going to be a 50-50 jump ball that he outmuscles the defender and he brings it down. But I think Keon Coleman gets in the end zone this week. What's yours?
I'm going to say Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir are going to score.
Wow. Okay. So if all three of ours come true, that's 21 points right there. Or both of ours come through. That's okay. So any particular way, do you think, you already said you think Dalton Kincaid will have a big game, right?
Yeah, I think Dalton Kincaid, there's this route. It's where you run on, it's when you act like a slant, but then you go really fast the other way.
Okay.
I'm going to say he's going to absolutely destroy his defender on one of those types.
Okay.
And then
in the red zone?
Yeah,
okay.
Within the 5.
Okay.
And then he's going to be open in the back of the end zone.
Okay.
For a toe jag swag catch.
All right. I love it.
And then for Shakir, I'm going to say he's just going to absolutely bird his defender and get a 50-yard touchdown.
Okay. All right. You think it's going to be one of those breaking through tackles, how did he stay up there type of things, or he's just going to be gone?
He's just going to be gone.
All right. I can't wait. Love to see it. Excited for Monday night. I would really just I spent so many years complaining that the Bills didn't get any of the fun time slots, and we just played at Sundays at 1:00. And now I'm like, can we just have a 1:00 Sunday game? I don't know. These games mess with our schedules, and people got to get up early for work and school and all that. Can you please just give us Sunday 1:00? I'm so happy with that. But Josh really seems to shine in the primetime light. So excited to see them and the rookies out there who haven't gotten to play on Monday Night Football before. And it's going to be a long weekend and watching football, anticipating our Bills playing, especially since they haven't played since last Thursday. So it's a lot of days off. Anyway,
yeah, it is.
All right, on to our final segment here. Score predictions. And Mini Mafia is also putting out a short on his score predictions, but we're going to give them to you right here as well. Do you want to go first or second on your score prediction?
I want to go second.
Okay. So score prediction for me, again, I feel like the Jags offense has struggled lately. I do not think this week there's going to be a massive difference. Bills have been putting up over 30 points a game. I do think that takes a slight drop down. My score prediction is 27-13 Bills. I think this is going to be no heart palpitations in this one. I think it's going to be a pretty easy game to watch. That's what I'm hoping for. However, I did say that for the Arizona game, and I was dead wrong. So we'll see. What about you? What do you got?
I'm saying 28-17.
Okay, so your prediction, another big one. You're not predicting a close game. You think the Bills will control that game. Okay. For anybody out there watching, if you have a hot take or a player to watch or a score prediction and you want to share with us, love to see what you have to say. And if you get it right next week on the show, whether we're live or recorded, we will definitely shout you out. Predictions aren't easy to do, and it takes guts to put them out there before the game gets played because people are going to talk crap and make fun of you if you get it wrong, and it is what it is. But if you put it out there beforehand, we'll definitely give you credit because, it's a lot of people just want to pretend afterwards like they called something, but put it down, put it on paper, and prove that you called it beforehand. Anyway, anything else you want to add before we get out of here for the day?
Nope.
All right. So from our family to yours, thank you for joining us here tonight, and can't wait for Monday night. And have a very safe and wonderful weekend. And finally, go Bills!